These days, when people see Bayer Leverkusen, they feel like they're the only team capable of giving Bayern Munich a run for their money. Fair enough, Leverkusen have been phenomenal lately, pulling off a domestic double and going the entire Bundesliga season unbeaten. And they've done it with incredible talent like Florian Wirtz pulling strings in midfield, Grimaldo and Frimpong dominating the flanks, Xhaka and Andrik forming rock-solid pivot to break up attacks. Add to that the attacking flair of Boniface and Patrick Schick bagging in the goals. And with upcoming manager Xabi Alonso at the helm, it's no surprise they've been a force to be reckoned with. And let's not forget, if Lookman hadn't morphed into prime R9 in that Europa League final, they would have completed a historic treble. But what if I told you about a decade ago there was an even scarier team? A team that, while they didn't go unbeaten in the league, managed to win back-to-back Bundesliga titles, some that Leverkusen are struggling to keep hold of, and put past 4 Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final to reach the UCL final. And that team was none other than Borussia Dortmund itself. From the 10-11 to 12-13 seasons, Dortmund were on another level. We had Lewandowski who was bagging goals for fun, that prime Shinji Kagawa, creative midfield maestro, getting the goals and the assists. With young stars like Mario Götze and Ilkay Gundogan getting into the team. At the back, a young Matt Hummels anchored alongside Marcel Schmelzer. With Jurgen Klopp at the helm, they took the Bundesliga by storm. So let's go back to a time when Flowrider was still topping the charts, Young Money was running the rap game, and the iPhone 4 was arguably the best smartphone on the market. And that's no other than the 10-11 season, where the rise begins, of Borussia Dortmund. To add some context to that 10-11 season, Klopp had already been at Dortmund for 2 years by then, and in that time, Borussia Dortmund had not really done much, to be honest. They even failed to finish top 4 once. Meanwhile, Wolfsburg shocked everyone by winning the Bundesliga in the 2009 season, but failed to defend their title against Bayern Munich. So heading into that 10-11 season, I don't think people were expecting much. Klopp wasn't yet that household name. Dortmund hadn't won the Bundesliga in like 8 years, so I don't really think anyone was prepared for what was about to happen next. And admittedly, they did get off to a slow start, losing to Leverkusen at home. But it was like that loss is exactly what they needed, because right after that match, Dortmund kicked into another gear with players like Mario Götze, Lucas Barrios, Kevin Grosskreutz, I've butchered that one, Nurishin, all stepping up for the team with 10 plus goal contributions, right? And you still had the likes of Robert Lewandowski, Jakob Blashinkowski, and Shinji Kagawa all coming into the fold when needed. And you know what effect this had on Dortmund? It led them to a 15-game unbeaten run, which we did see come to an end against Eintracht Frankfurt. But they later on bounced back immediately after that match and went on an 8-game unbeaten run, which saw them open up a 7-point gap between second place and 10 points over Bayern Munich in third. And the scariest part, they were just getting started. With Lewandowski becoming more of a mainstay in the starting 11 next season, bro, things just got a whole lot worse for the Bundesliga. Because if you thought Dortmund were good the previous season, they were on another level this season. They scored more goals, they only lost 1 home game, and they managed to improve their previous points tally by 6. And even though Bayern improved that season, climbing to second with 8 more points than the previous year, Dortmund was still 8 points ahead of them with a similar goal difference. They were simply unstoppable. Kaga was running the show, Leo was scoring for fun. Piszczek and Blashinkowski, that connection on the right flank, pure chaos. The Bundesliga just couldn't handle it. And to top it all off, to close out the 11-12 season, Dortmund beat Bayern Munich 5-2 in the DBF Pokal final, with Lewandowski being the man of the match, scoring a hat-trick to win the match 5-2 for Borussia Dortmund. And you know what? I think this personally is what ignited that spark in Bayern Munich. Just like, nah. Bayern came for blood in that 12-13 season. Not only did they reclaim the Bundesliga title, but they also did it by passing the 90 points barrier. To add context, the Bundesliga has 2 games less than the Premier League, and Bayern won the league with 91 points. If you get Leverkusen's unbeaten season from last season and put it next to Bayern's 12-13 season, they still lose the league by 1 point. That's how crazy Bayern were moving. Not only did they dominate in the points, they were scoring goals like crazy, because there were 2 goals off 100 that season. Bayern were moving crazy that season. And even though it was basically impossible for Borussia Dortmund to keep up in the league, they still had hope in the Champions League, because that campaign, my God, what a wonder. Dortmund were drawn in the supposed quote-unquote group of death along the likes of Man City, Ajax, and Real Madrid, starring Cristiano Ronaldo, Sergio Aguero, And not only did Dortmund go on to dominate in the group, they went unbeaten the whole group, finishing with 14 points, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 14 points. With Real Madrid in second, and then Ajax dropping down to the Europa League, and Man City finishing bottom of their group. And in the round of 16, they did get an easier tie with Shakhtar Donetsk, but they still had to come against a Malaga side that starred the likes of Radamel Falcao and Isco to get to the semi-finals where they beat Real Madrid 4-0 at home at the Bernabeu before being beaten 3 at their home. But it was still enough to get them through to the final. And funny enough, I just realized Bayern scored 7 past Barca. Bayern really is Barca's daddy, isn't it? And now all this led to the final. Batman v Superman, Iron Man versus Captain America, Borussia Dortmund versus Bayern Munich. What a tell. It couldn't be any better. As all roads led to Wembley, the stakes couldn't be higher. This wasn't just about who would be crowned European champions. It was about the balance of power in German football. This was like Star Wars, the Sith versus the Jedi, light versus dark. Dortmund having to come up against this unstoppable Darth Vader of Bayern Munich, and themselves being Luke Skywalker. How would things turn out? Because if Dortmund could stop the unstoppable on the biggest stage, it could have shifted the mentality of Bundesliga teams, proving that Bayern are completely beatable, even on the biggest of stages. But if Dortmund lost, it would further establish Bayern's dominance, showing the rest of the league that they're truly above everyone else. And well, we all know how that played out. And that final was a battle. After a tense first half, ending 0-0, things exploded in the second. Mandzukic struck first, but then Dortmund fought back, winning a penalty 8 minutes later that Ilkay Gundogan calmly slotted home. It looked like we were heading into extra time, but then the greatest robbery stepped up. And on the 89th minute, Robin, in one of his most iconic moments of his career, slipped through and slotted the ball past Borussia Dortmund to win Bayern Munich that final. That night at Wembley didn't just end Dortmund's Champions League dream, it marked the beginning of their end, period. Not only did Bayern Munich take the Bundesliga and the Champions League, but it's like they took the faith from the team, because after that, they were never the same again. And to make matters worse, Bayern looked at them and were like, nah, you're not defeated enough, and went to decide to get star man Mario Götze from the squad to further weaken morale. That's like you get into a fight, then you lose, and then they take your shoes. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't good for Dortmund. Combined with the fact that they got star man Robert Lewandowski to leave again the following season on a free to make things worse. And combined with Bayern Munich's financial dominance, Borussia Dortmund simply couldn't keep up, hence beginning Bayern Munich's decade of dominance until Leverkausen stepped in. So in conclusion, Dortmund's golden era under Jurgen Klopp was special, but it was also short-lived. Since then, they've had their moments of resurgence, some DUF pokals here and there, but they've never truly been that top team they were in the 2010 to 2012, 2013 season. Maybe one day we'll see another team rise to the challenge, another Dortmund team willing to take the Bundesliga by the helm. But until then, we just have to wait and remember what we once had. Otherwise, thank you guys for everything. I appreciate you, and take care. Peace and love.